not only knowing what this technological thing is doing, but also who else I can reach out if anything else is happening. In Bulgaria, they're even now observing the data in a way that they have 2 people dedicating their time in shifts, observing the temperature measurements, and then they can see if someone puts it inside because temperature goes up, especially in the winter. And they have connections to them, say like, hey, Mariana, can it be that you put the sensor inside? And say, yeah, come on, please put it outside. Okay. Or a sensor is not sending for 2 days, the data. And then they ask them like, hey, what's up with your sensor? And then it's like, they realize, oh, my grandmother was unplugging it because she put in the vacuum cleaner. No, so, but people, we see they have a real connection with the sensor. When they go out and they know what it does, what the parts are doing, they have a relation with it, and then they take care of it when it's at home. And they look after the values by themselves, and then they contact the workshop leaders and say like, what does it happen? It's like everything seems good, but somehow the values are high. And then they check, and there is a spider went inside and made his net, and the values get changed. It's like there is many elements that can happen, and there is also many conversations. And this is like something that we want to enable and enforce. We think this is the most important part we can bring to this whole thing. Everything else is approved. Everything else is on our list, and we look for the experts to make them better. But I think the biggest value in this is like really connecting people and bringing this very complex topic to them in a way that is understandable. That means they create the data, it's accessible to them, to the expert and institutions, but also we have to take care better about the outcomes, and we are working with groups that are able to bring complex topics and break them down into citizen-readable data. That means workshops, webinars, one-pagers, short clips on the internet, meetups like this. There is several different forms because every person, every culture, every language is different, every city is different, and therefore there is a lot of work needed to break it down and make it even more accessible. And it doesn't stop with the particulars. I mean, we had a conversation with the university in Stuttgart, and there is a European project on a bigger scale, and they have like the whole weather simulation they take from the European Commission, to my knowledge, and then it's like Copernicus is a satellite system, and it delivers data on a global scale, and they take it. Then there is like a chemical simulation model that they also have access to, with, to my knowledge, 600 variables, and then this is like top-down data. And then they have our data, which is on the ground for verification. So there is like a simulation done that is like a super high level and precise, but we need also an element how to break it down, how to make it accessible and serve the general public with these results, because that is much more than what we do. And we can create the access. We had a conversation with a scientist, and they said like what they did, I will not tell the institute now, it's that they work with our data and they present it, but they don't have traffic on their website, so they say like, okay, we do great things, but if nobody sees it, like what's the value of it? So this is also the reason why they want to connect with us, because us referencing to them is one thing, perhaps they will have some traffic, but if they work that is should result in also an open source project, an open source data and code, could be implemented into this, that would be increasing not only the value, but also let's create a channel where the beneficiaries, the citizen, can tell you what else they would need, they would want. So they have a stream of improvements and suggestions and collaboration. And there are cities that want this, and there are cities that could not even imagine this. So we have been in conferences where I was sitting beside a minister and also his data expert. I was in between, and they tried to make me aware that APIs are not there to be used by anyone. You know?
Who said that?
I can say it was in Romania. It was in Romania. It was last year at the Code for All Global conference, Global Summit. And it was in Romania basically. And they said like API from an institution should not be used by others. So this is just, for experts. You can't give this data to regular people because this is like, very higher approach, and they can't deal with it, because when you only serve them the results, and the results is just one number, and the number is like, it's perfect, it says everything, you know. And we see it more as an approach like, let's integrate the citizens from the beginning already by the creation of the data, and then also let's take them on the whole path of how you analyze the data and what's the outcome, you know. It's like, so this is like so much more to it, to this conversation, and we are just at the beginning basically. So we don't want to end up in a numbers game. Even I had to wow you a bit with the growth and the size, but at the end, it is about the engagement of the people in the future that we want to be measured on. So this is our approach. Yeah.
Are you also developing something even smaller for personal exposure, for example?
I guess this could be used for personal exposure.
Yes.
This pipes look a little big.
Oh, it's a funny walking one.
But basically you only need this one.
Yeah, so it could be, but then you said if you move you have to register new address, so it's not GPS tracking or something.
So we always did support any additional movements and experiments, and one of them was to measuring mobile. So there is already people put this into place. You can even just connect the sensor per cable, per USB cable, to your Android phone. And this Android phone is basically powering it, the measurements, and saving the measurements, and you can visualize them on the map. This is done. The thing is that we as a project, we had to define the core, and this is like for PM, outdoor, and stationary.
Yeah, that's also something that I thought, I mean, it could be that people are concerned about their personal health, and that could include working places or private places.
Yeah, yeah. So we had to start somewhere, and we will definitely build on top of it this development, not only increasing the amount of other sensors, but also be more like going into this path of like a mobile device. But I must tell you, the approach is a different one. Because if you have like one station, and this station is sending 24/7, also when you sleep, also when you're on holiday, also when you're somewhere else, this station measures constantly. And this is very valuable data for people that analyzing it, especially when you have like a net of many. So that's, again, perhaps this is something I didn't mention yet, but this is like, if you would compare this sensor to one big official measurement stations, yes, there will be a difference between you would like compare a dinosaur with one bee. What is the strength of one bee? But what is the strength of 700 bees? It's a different dynamic. So when you have the data of hundreds of stations, you are analyzing it with machine learning over time, with historical data. This is like a different approach by combining many sensors, and you can see if one sensor is freaking out and behaving like crazy, and there is like close to it other sensors and they are totally fine, you can calculate it out. It's a different approach. That if you have one station and you say like, it measures God's will.
Yeah, but it's important to say that it's very easy to do this just for yourself, just measuring yourself.
Yeah.
It's just not on the map.
Yeah.
But it's
Yes.
very easy to use this on a personal basis.
Yeah, but basically if you...
Maybe also another question connected to it, it's also is the position important? I mean, you can put it close to a road or somewhere very nice. And
Yeah. So we have different approaches. Like in Netherlands, there is a group of retired people, older people that started to have like the stations at their own place, at their own home. And then they had said like, oh, that was easy. And that was like makeable and also payable. And then they put one at the schools of their children. And then also then Neves, and it's like everywhere. And then now they start, okay, we have a highway close to it. Okay, let's put every week one station like in distance of 100 meter, continue like for the whole track. And then let's start also working with analyzing the data. Let's learn with what tools are out there that when we put this data here down, put it in here, how can we graph it, how can we analyze it? And then at the end, people sit there and analyzing and saying like, oh, there is this weather forecast, and then there is this element, and then they warn the people, and then they have this exchange. So there is like much more with the outcome of the data than just, hanging up sensors. But yes, we will also have like a schools, sensors to schools, that people who participate in the workshops and they perhaps say, okay, I can afford two, one for me and one for a school. or for a strategic place like traffic intersection or official stations to place it near there. We will have this now because we will have this community that we can coordinate these efforts and these activities. So that's the approach that we want to have. Yeah, we are building it up just now, and please become a part of it. Thank you. Yes, of course.
I'm not sure, do I need the microphone?
Yeah.
For the camera, or because I think it's easy to speed this room up, right?
You do want it because we're
Okay,
live streaming.
good.
So to prefer you put it on. Some people from Norway and Sweden wrote and were like, oh, so exciting! Can you not please live stream it? So
Great.
we decided to try.
Thanks for watching, whoever is watching out there. Hello, everybody. I then assume I should do this in English, even though I'm Danish. My name is Jeppe. I'm the president of the European Federation for Transport and Environment in Europe. We have about 60 member organizations working on transport and environment all over Europe in 28 countries. And we also have some great colleagues, for example, in Bulgaria, who does a great work. And it's just so impressive to see what volunteers can basically do, especially in Bulgaria, because it has such a huge influence, also political. And I think one of the reasons that this has spread to this level is, of course, very dedicated volunteers who has been working tireless on this, but also because the things are really thought through, and I think we all got a really good impression of how well thought everything is in this project. So, I mean, I guess that's one of the important elements why this is such a success. But don't let that scare you, because even though it's very thought through with many thoughts, it's really easy to do. And I'll try to make it short so you can very quickly get to actually the really fun part, actually making these. I did it together with my son Einar, which is 12 years old, half a year ago after participating in an online training with Deutsche Umwelthilfe and our good friends from Bulgaria, I think, in the summer break. My normal day job is in the Danish Ecological Council, the Økologiske Råd, where we work a lot with air pollution. It's mostly my colleague Kåre Pras who does this. And we work with all kinds of air pollution. And of course, this doesn't have to be a political thing. It can just be a fun, technical, personal experience how are things where I live. But of course, for us, there is also a political angle on this. We're an environmental organization, so of course we work with decarbonization of the transport sector, which will also mean lower emissions. And we, of course, also just work with air pollution as an environmental problem in itself. I have two short movies I'll show you instead of talking, now that we actually have some relevant movies. And then you're free to ask questions, and otherwise I just think you should get on your way. Is it not connected to the internet? Right enough nu. Lad os sætte punktet for meget. Så fjerner punktet ud der. Yes. Undskyld, kører det på mig. Skal lige finde video her. Den der. Ja.
Køretøjer er et stort sundhedsproblem, fordi de udleder sodpartikler og kvælstofoxider. Begge dele er meget
Can you hear it? Can you see it?
påvirker lungerne med
And that's one of the
og giver hjertekarsygdomme, blodprop, giver diabetes, og de påvirker det ufødte barn, som er særligt følsomt for luftforurening. Og endelig er det også meget betydeligt. De er meget giftige. Det kan vi se i celleforsøg og dyreforsøg, at de giver anledning til nogle store betændelsesreaktioner, som er rigtig skadelige for kroppen. Der er flere måder at vurdere, hvor mange dødsfald luftforureningen koster i Danmark. Den internationale standardmetode, der bruger man PM2,5 eller 4 per partikler som regnestørrelse. Og der er det største bidrag faktisk for andre lande, det der kommer til med det. Bruger man den metode, så når man frem til i størrelsesorden 3.200 til 3.500 for tidligere dødsfald. Men der mangler man i høj grad de særlige egenskaber ved dieselforurening. Og hvis man lægger dem til grund og kun ser på dieselforureningen og hvad der nu ellers bidrager til NO2 og trafikpartikler, så får man ca. 2.000 dødsfald. I det samlede omfang er på en eller anden måde ikke summen af de to, fordi der er noget overlap, men et eller andet sted der imellem 3.400 og så 5.000 og noget.
That was Stefan Luft, which is Institute Director of Public Health at Copenhagen University and also professor at the Institute. I'll just show you another one with my good colleague Kåre about the air pollution from transport. More specifically, and what could be done.
Det er vores tredje største risikofaktor, kun overgået af rygning og fysisk inaktivitet. Så det er altså en af de ting, der dræber allerflest danskere, selvom vores luft foregår at være rimelig ren. Det er noget, man skal være meget opmærksom på, og det rammer fuldstændig tilfældigt. Det er ikke som med rygning og fysisk inaktivitet og alkohol, noget man kan fravælge. Det er noget, vi indånder hver eneste gang, vi trækker vejret. Luftforurening, det koster samfundet et stort tocifret milliardbeløb hver eneste år. Dels fordi, at folk mister velfærd, dør og bliver syge, men også fordi samfundet mister produktivitet, når folk er syge og ikke kan passe deres arbejde. Det er en rigtig stor samfundsøkonomisk omkostning, og det er meget billigere at reducere luftforurening, end at betale de skader, der påfører samfundet. Partikler, det er mikroskopiske, faste stoffer, der svæver rundt i luften. De er så små, at vi ikke kan se dem, men vi kan måle med sofistikeret måleudstyr. Og når vi inhalerer dem, så er det dybt ned i lungerne, giver inflammation i lungevævet, overføres til blodbanen, der cirkulerer rundt i hele vores organisme og forårsager en masse skade. Og det er så det, vi dør og bliver syge. Det særlige ved luftforurening sammenholdt med andre risikofaktorer, det er, at man ikke undgår luftforurening. Vi indånder luftforurening hver eneste gang, vi trækker vejret, enten vi bor i byerne eller uden for byerne, hvor de andre store risikofaktorer, som rygning og alkohol og fysisk inaktivitet, det er vi selv herover. Men vi er altså ikke selv herover, om vi trækker vejret, og det er derfor, vi har behov for politisk regulering, der begrænser luftforurening. På transportsiden, der er løsningen her og nu at stille nogle skarpere krav til de benzin- og dieselbiler, der kører i byerne, så de har effektive filtre og effektive katalysatorer, og det minimerer forureningen, men også med gebyrerne mulighed for snarest muligt at udfase de fossile biler og erstatte med elbiler i det følsomme bymiljø. Det vil både dæmpe luftforureningen helt enormt, og samtidig også dæmpe støjforureningen.
Okay, that was it. We have worked on this political, of course, and many of you have maybe noticed that we have had a big struggle with the Environmental Protection Agency about the removing or the moving of the measuring station at H.C. Andersens Boulevard in Copenhagen, because they moved it to 2 meters and 48 centimeters, and thereby they get lower than the official EU limits for NO2. This is not only happening in Denmark, it's also happening in other places, also in London. They actually wash the streets before they do some measurements to make sure they get the best results. But even in a country like Denmark, where we trust the authorities to a high degree, the main purpose is not to get EU on our back, and in reality not really to protect the citizens of Denmark. How many official measurement stations do you think there is in Denmark? What do we build on our upon? And I don't think you're allowed to say anything because you checked everything just a few minutes ago, right? No, we have 9 measurement stations in Denmark. So we have 3 in Copenhagen, 1 in Hvidovre, Odense, Aalborg, and then we also have some very specific for measuring air pollution from sea traffic, which, if you look at the air pollution maps of Denmark, you'll see that the most polluted areas is where the sea transport is in the around the island of Fyn, basically, and also Øresund. So 9 official measurement stations. We have convinced the municipality of Copenhagen to buy one of their own. So we'll get one placed at a good location to secure the best worst case results. And then they also invest in the mobile measuring stations, so we also get official EU recognized data, for example, from cruise ships and other places. So we will be at 11, but I mean, how many people are we here? We can help quite a lot and improve this data. Other projects in Denmark at the moment is Google, a cooperation between University of Utrecht in the Netherlands, the municipality of Copenhagen, Copenhagen University, and Google. They have a car driving around Copenhagen, measuring air pollution in the height of 2 meters. And the height is actually quite important because all the official measurement stations, they measure in the height of 2.2 meters. But of course, we don't breathe in 2.2 meters. And that's also why if you measure at children's height, you'll get 60% higher values than if you measure in 2.2. So, yes, but I think it's a really fantastic project. I can really recommend it, and I hope that we will have a big community of this in Denmark, which can supplement the official measurements, but also create more engagement in air quality issues. I've had a lot of talks with our good Swedish friends, which started, I think it was only a year ago, something like that, but they have quite a lot happening in Stockholm also. I think it's Miska that contacted Fab Black Rook. I had a lot of talk with him. So the Swedes are also very eager to help build something up in Denmark and maybe also in Norway at some point. So if anybody's eager to do more, I'll be happy to help. I have a little Facebook group where people can just sign up, so there's some kind of way of communicate between the people who are interested. I also have the website luftdata.dk. Maybe we should just start with a translation, a Danish translation, so it will be easy for really many people to do this that you will do in a second. And I think I'll stop here because there's been a lot of talking already. So good sampling, good, what can I say? Held og lykke med at samle det hele og få lortet til at fungere.
If I could add the numbers when you say 9 stations.
Yeah.
So we have from our network is 5. We can top that. We are starting with 5 now. Poland started half a year ago with 0, and they have now 272. There was a celebration when they crossed the 150 official stations. That was for them like a great achievement, but they don't stop. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, when we only have these few measurement stations, there's a lot we don't know. Sorry.
Where you see the numbers.
Yeah.
I just have a question regarding
Yeah.
the placement of the sensors. I mean, obviously that's up to the individuals, but do they put into the information into the system of where it is? Because like 2.5 meters makes a difference. So if I put it up in my garden or I put it out to the road, and can people see that information or not?
The people on the map cannot see the information, but it is in the system. And this is the part of the process of registration to let us know where. And this is an element that we plan heavily to improve, to give even much more options. As the development regarding this humidity impact is that some people have sensors with and some without heated inlet. And therefore we need also this as an additional metadata, the additional checkbox to say, yes, this sensor is with one. And then additionally, also like a description of like what kind of heated inlet it is, which version, make a picture, so more background knowledge. But basically, that's about the metadata to going into depth, which will be like a lot increased. So this is like our very strong focus as we are working with the institutions with them. And also another element is like the format that provides to them that is readable by their scientists and researchers. And also the integration of the data in an automatic way in their data portals. Because people and scientists are the same, there are habits. I go to my place, I expect the data to be there in the format. So it's like, you have your bakery, your favorite bakery, and you want it your style that's accessible. Oh yeah. And that's elements that are already into place. The only thing is, we are a volunteers group. We have a lot of limitations. A lot of work has been done, and we're in a lot of things like in the final stage of implementation. But with a volunteers project, with this registration tool, we thought we will have already in November. And then 3 laptops died. Christmas happens. We've been on the CCC conference for 1 week together. Holidays, lots of delays, and then January happens. Everybody is flooded by work. It's still like the case. So the members are in Hamburg, not in Stuttgart anymore. They have to travel the world, and we put a lot of effort to coordinate. But we have now more support from others, from other countries, and other hacker spaces, maker spaces, and they add to it. But it's also a period of, you have to let them know where it is, how we process that. Yes, in the description we had this database, but now we had to do this because you can't keep up with the changes as fast as they're happening. But we are doing a better and better job over time to integrate them, and especially through the new platform where these conversations can happen. And there is like a lot of, we call it like basic questions, because the mobile version is in place for very long. The metadata is in place for very long. The approaches regarding LoRaWAN is for very long. The humidity approaches are for very long. This needs to be more visible. It's not on the website yet. We have to make the people understand that we are not only aware of it, but that we are working on it since 2.5 years, and to present also more of the results that has been done by this various of groups. So there is like lots of work. So please join on all levels. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. Can we clap? I can't clap. And I believe we have 11 kits, and we're paying for these. These are free, so we'd love you to. I think we should have a 10-minute break after all the talking, but then we'll start building them. And please take them with you and set them up somewhere. And the only payment we ask is that you label them FabLabRook somehow and send us an email saying where it is, so we can see. Oh, that's funny. That's where they ended up. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a quick question. What is the optimal place to put it? Because, for example, if you put it on a tree, that adds some more humidity, or if you put it high or low, or if I put it on my balcony, or
we say outside of your window, like most of the people have an apartment, and then it's like on the balcony on outside of the window, but everything has to be described in the process. That's so far it. Not too low. It should be like 1.5 meter, I think, to 3.5. I think was defined on the website, but we are still in more conversations with the researchers to unify these suggestions that we give out. But at the end, you can place it where it's best for you, because you also have to consider there's like this flat cable that goes through the windows. It's like, can you provide it with also power? So that's why when you have a version that is somewhere in a nature park and is driven by LoRaWAN, you have to add a battery pack or even solar powered. All of these elements are also out in the wild, in the network of the internet, and are built by volunteers in several approaches. But we have to do a better job to combine them and support you when you want to do this that way. Because we stand for stationary, outdoor, and but this mobile version, and also like far away in national parks approaches, we also want to serve much better. And also become more and more a partner of this infrastructure. Like, we are a strong believer of LoRaWAN approach, as it is like a very open one. So we think this is a very sustainable approach, especially when you consider that we go with more kits in the future, with more sensors that will add on top of this. Yeah. That's an own dynamic we want to support. Yeah.
I'd also like to add, we have 2 LoRaWAN gateways, the Things Network gateways nearby. We did a workshop about this a couple of weeks ago. We've made a group in Roskilde, and the municipality seems interested. So there will probably be some LoRaWAN coverage, or the Things Network coverage. There is already some, there will be some. So.
And I also have some interest from the municipality of Frederiksberg on these issues, because the net account is also very good at Frederiksberg, and there's some people in the municipality who is really interested. If anybody wants to pursue this further in the future, just contact me.
Great, thanks. Well, let's take a 10-minute break.
There should be some coffee. Yeah, I'd like some. Nice meeting you.
Yes, very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, the cycle of can exchange, and I want to show up here, and it is such a game changer in this country. I was in Bulgaria.